Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing dumper delivery methods. So before we get into the podcast, I just want to let you know about my website, dateme.tips. That's www.dateme.tips. Do you need help trying to save your crumbling relationship? Would you like advice on how to try and get your ex back? Or maybe you need an action plan on how to try and get a girlfriend or boyfriend. I provide email coaching on all of these subjects and can help your specific situation. Visit my website dateme.tips to find out more details. That's www.dateme.tips. You will also find on my site the books that I've written, my clothing range and other information. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing dumper delivery methods. So when somebody decides to end a relationship, there are various ways that they can convey this decision. And in today's podcast, I'm going to be going through 4 of the most likely options that a dumper will decide to use when they want to end a relationship. And when I'm going through each variant, I will be letting you know what this means about the breakup, the decision the dumper has made, and what it could mean for the future and the aftermath. So let's get straight into this. And number 1 is that they do it in person. So if somebody decides to end a relationship and they approach the other person in person, and the dumper decides to end the relationship face to face, then this is something which ultimately the dumpee would probably prefer to happen. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, that's terrible, it happened to me, things got emotional, there's a lot of arguments. That can happen. However, in particular in hindsight, you are likely to look back and think, okay, I'm glad that actually happened, because if a dumper makes the decision to actually do this in person, it shows that they're giving you the respect to actually listen to your thoughts face to face, actually do it face to face, so that all of the emotion is there in the open and that both people can have a conversation and, get their points of view across. If you have a dumpee, it is incredibly difficult in this position to stay emotionally centered, but you must do. You have to stay as emotionally controlled as you can be, because if you don't, then that is not going to help your chances for the aftermath and the future. Ultimately, you need to be somebody that other people would want to spend time with, especially your ex if you're trying to get them back. So if you're somebody who is showing a lot of emotional disturbance, if you're somebody who is losing control, if you're somebody who is shouting and arguing and being aggressive and being overly emotional, that is not the behaviour that is going to make the dumper think in the near future, you know what, I want to spend time with them again. Of course, it's important for you to get your opinion across and your thoughts across, but you need to try to stay as emotionally stable as possible and understand that the dumper has made the most difficult decision to end a relationship this way. This is the most difficult way they could do it in person, and hence they're showing you some respect. Now, you're probably thinking, well, they're not showing me respect, they're dumping me. Well, in regards of dumping, this is the most respect they could show you. They've met you face to face. You've had a conversation, and even though they've probably not changed their mind, at least they respected you enough to do it face to face. So it can be a bit of a mixed bag how you feel with it in person. Normally at the time it's very painful, but in hindsight you generally respect that they did this in the way that they did. So now let's move into number 2, and that is they do it over the phone. So if they do it over the phone, they are giving themselves a little bit of distance, so that they can try to, not look into your eyes, that's the type of thing. They're trying to create that distance, maybe a bit of a safety net in case they are worried that things get a little bit out of hand and a little bit crazy and overly emotional, and, they don't want to risk that potentially, so they're doing it over the phone. Well, the good news is that at least they're letting you speak, they're hearing your voice, and you can convey a lot in voice. You can have that conversation And you need to make sure, once again, that you stay as calm as you can during this, because the problem with the phone is that if things get out of hand too quickly, they can put the phone down. And if they put the phone down, or if you put the phone down, then you're missing out on this one opportunity to get across the fact that you are emotionally centered. You are not happy with the decision, but you've accepted it, and you want to let them know that if they ever want to get in touch again, that you're open to that. So you don't put the phone down, and also make sure that you don't cause them to put the phone down. Engage in the conversation. It's bad news, it's not what you want to hear, but try to be somebody who they will feel comfortable getting in touch with in the future, and then that will give you, as the dumpy, more options. Whether you want to get back with your ex or not, you don't want to be making additional kind of enemies, so to speak, of people, even if it's your ex and they've dumped you. You want to become a better person. You want to be the type of person that anybody can come to and speak, okay? So don't end the communication lines by closing it down suddenly, by putting the phone down, or by causing the dumper to put the phone down. Either way is not going to enhance your chances of getting your ex back. And even if you don't want them back, it's just not a good way to end things. Try to be the bigger person, even in the most challenging of situations. So at this point, I just want to mention my weekly wingman service. I can be your wingman for the week, providing you with bespoke motivational encouragement. This can be to help with your love life, as well as ingraining a self-improvement mindset. The course begins with an audio call for us to speak, and then moves on to emails. For more details on this service, please click the link in the description. So number 3 is a letter. So the third most popular reason, in my opinion, that a dumper might decide to end a relationship is via a letter. And this, especially in this day and age, can be something which seems very personal. Obviously, it's not being done in person. It's not being done over the phone. You've not heard their voice. But it is being done via letter. And when it's being done via letter, especially, if it's a written letter, not a typed letter, you're seeing the handwriting, you're conveying the feeling. And even though it's not as good as being in person, you're not getting that opportunity to engage instantly, you are still kind of getting an emotional connection via the letter. So the dumper is ending the relationship, and that is not what you want to happen, presumably. However, it is being done via a personal means. They're doing it with a lot of distance. They're not wanting to see you face to face. They don't want to even hear your voice. And that could be because they are worried that it's going to get overly emotional on both ends, and it could turn into an argument possibly. They don't want that, okay? They're taking the time to write a letter. They're getting their feelings across. And if you are the dumpy and you've received this, the advantage you have is that you can really take in the information before you respond to this, okay? You can really consider your thoughts before either you write a letter or you contact them, or you might decide not to contact them, okay? If you've been dumped, then you have the right to reply, so to speak. I'm a big believer that if you've been dumped, then you should never contact your ex unless they contact you first. But that doesn't mean during the initial breakup. And if they've actually sent you a letter, then, you have all the rights to write them back a letter, or to text them, or to phone them, or whatnot, at least once, okay? But again, stay emotionally centered. You have the advantage of having time to really think about what you're going to do. What I would say is that it is showcasing that the dumper was very concerned about seeing you face to face or hearing your voice. That could be for their own benefit. That could be that they will feel emotional, but it could also be that they are worried about how you're going to react. So, make sure that you are not proving them right and being overly emotional and somebody who's losing control. Make sure when you do contact them, it is with a stable mindset. And number 4, which is possibly the most common, is a text message, or, any type of message, electronic message, some type of communication online or via phone or via tablet or whatnot. Anything like that is possibly the most common, and it is, of course, the type of communication which is the least personal. So that very much hurts as a dumpy. It seems to be a way of conveying a very serious and emotional message in the least emotional way. And that can be very painful to experience as a dumpy. But you do have some advantages. The first advantage is, like I just said, with a letter, you have time to consider how you're going to respond to this. So make sure you don't respond in a way which is going to make things worse, okay? Think about what you're going to say back. Also, if you've a dumpy and you've received it by text, you know, even though it's not personal, and even though you can take that as another kind of like nail in the coffin of your relationship, because you're thinking, right, they couldn't even be bothered to speak to me face to face or whatnot. You know, you might be thinking this means everything is bad. There is a flip side, and the flip side is that maybe your ex, the dumper, couldn't bear to do it in person. They couldn't bear to speak to you on the phone. They couldn't bear to hear your voice. They couldn't bear to see you face to face because of the pain they know they are inflicting, and they don't want that. So even if you are feeling like it's a very negative way of breaking up, you know, like the worst of the worst, then just take some solace that it might be because they are concerned for you and they are worried, and that they almost don't really know what they're doing and they've just done it this way. Okay, so you never really know. You never really know whether it is because they're just being very cold, or whether it is for a reason such as they can't bear to hear your voice because they don't want to hear your pain and they're trying to remove themselves. Okay, if you flip it around like that, you can almost look at it as a positive way, as a way that they do feel a lot for you. But of course, it is the coldest way, and it can be very challenging to move forward once you receive a text that dumps you, because it can feel out of the blue. It can feel like, I can't believe after our relationship you don't even want to talk about this. You know, it can be very difficult, but you can get through it. Okay, I know instances, I've experienced it myself, where being dumped by text can mean that you're feeling very low about stuff, but then in the future you hear from your ex again. So please always remember that whatever happens, however a dumper conveys a message, it does not necessarily mean that's it. You never know when the story ends, and if you do everything right, then you stand every chance of one day hearing from your ex again, and then you can rebuild your connection if that is what you wish to do. So I hope you've enjoyed today's podcast, and please remember that with or without your ex, you will have a positive future.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent Bo, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back or move to the next, ain't no sweat. You know Vincent Bo got you, finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.